Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to another awesome interview. This time I have a special guest, and I'm going to let him introduce himself. I'm really happy he's here at my house. Thank you for coming.
No problem. I'm Tim Delgado. I'm a spiritual healer, visionary, and I do a lot of things. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, I'm excited to learn more. So,
Cool, cool.
thank you
Thanks.
for being here.
Yeah,
Thank you
thanks for
so
having
much.
me.
No problem. Thank you.
Cool.
Okay, so let's start with the basics.
Hmm.
Pretty much, um, we've talked about before how you got into the whole healing,
Into the holistic field.
holistic healing business,
Yeah.
and I'm interested to have you share a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, well, the way I got into all this, I tell people it's by accident, but there is no accidents. But the way I got into it was in 2003, I started experiencing anxiety and panic attacks.
Mm-hmm.
So I was at that time, I was 23 years old, going to school full time, working full time. At the same time, I was in a rock band. I was in a soccer team. I was trying to surf, but at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, I was trying to party like 4 or 5 days out of the week.
Mm-hmm.
So I had like a full schedule, living off alcohol and coffee, rarely getting sleep. And I was in a car accident. I was driving for this company at that time, working full time, and I flipped in a bobtail truck. I don't know if you guys know what a bobtail truck are. Those Penske yellow trucks,
Mm-hmm.
not the long ones, but the little shorter ones. Came out without a scratch, but a month later, I started experiencing what I thought was a heart attack. Felt my heart thumping, boom, 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 boom. Went to the emergency room. They hooked me up to the machines, and they're like, "You don't have a heart attack." Happened again until finally they sent me to a cardiologist, and they were like, "You know what? You don't have a heart problem. You have anxiety. You have panic attacks." I'm like, "What the heck is that?" Back then, I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, "You got to go to the psychologist." So they send me to the psychologist, and this psychologist wasn't helping me much. They sent me to two psychologists. I'm gonna shorten the story
Mm-hmm.
just for time, but I'm not bad mouthing psychology, but these psychologists didn't help me much. And then I went to the psychiatrist, and their job was just to throw pills at you. So,
Mm-hmm.
a psychiatrist, I went through like 6 or 7 pills with the
Wow.
psychiatrist, and all of them, I was real sensitive to all of them. I felt like a zombie. I was in a higher state of fear and anxiety, and it even says it on the bottle, like more
Mm-hmm.
anxiety, more suicidal thoughts. I was
Mm-hmm.
getting suicidal thoughts. On top of that, this lady told my mom, "You should take him to this priest. He cures anxieties." I was like, "Wow, he's gonna be a psychologist priest. He's gonna show me how to think." So I was like, "All right, I'll go." I went to this priest. It was at a house.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think he was a working priest anymore. But he told me
Shady
he,
priest.
yeah, he looked at me. He was like old Italian guy, and he's like, "You have an evil spirit," and I gave him authority at that
Mm-hmm.
moment because I was in the state where if you tell me something, I would something that I was scared of, I would think about it for 4 days. That's how
Mm-hmm.
weak my mind was. So when I went to him for help, and he told me that, and I'm not blaming him because I chose to take what he said, but yeah, when in that state of mind, he said that, and I took it to the head, and I just started having nightmares. I wasn't sleeping for 4 days at a time. Out of nowhere, I would just like start crying, grabbing my stomach. I remember I was living with my sister, and she freaked out once because she went to the living room, and I was right there freaking out. And she even called my mom like, "Hey, this guy's freaking out. Come over."
Yeah.
So it was
Wow.
bad. I couldn't
Mm-hmm.
function. And until they told me about this other psychologist. And at first, I didn't want to go to her. I was like, she's going to be like the rest of them. They're just going to tell me all this stuff, throw pills at me. But it got to the point where I needed to do something because I felt like I was going into like psychosis. I think now that I know, I think I was probably going like into like a schizophrenia or something.
Mm-hmm.
So I went with her, and she seen the state I was in, and she's like, "I'm gonna tell you something, but you can't go around telling people." She's like, "Everything that priest told you, devil, demons, all that, it doesn't exist. It's all a bunch of like." She was straight out. She was like, "A bunch of BS. Whenever you see devil, demon in the Bible, just replace it for negative thought." She gave me a whole session on truth. I went back 4 days later before my next appointment, and I told her, I was like, "What do you mean that doesn't exist? They told me that since I was a kid. They're telling kids now." And she was like, no, you could go look it up. And I'm like, you just told me that so my anxiety could go down. And she's like, well, did it work?
Hi. Technical.
She's like, well, did it work? And I was like, well, those fears went down, but a little bit, but I'm more pissed now. Because it's kind of like, hey, they've been telling history, like everyone in history, all this, and I don't know, it's not true. And I'm like, show me where this truth is. And she's like, I'm not going to show you. I'm going to tell you what my teacher told me. You got to find your own truth. Like, because if not, you're just going to tell everyone this lady told me. And that's when my journey began. That's when she was my first Reiki teacher. Yeah. And she even told me, go look for more teachers. So I went to look for more teachers. I did Reiki Mastery twice. I studied with a yogi from India. I had strict teachers. And this yogi from India shows like a yoga that's completely different to the West. And it's more spiritual. And he was real strict. He was like, if you still have to drink a drink of alcohol in a month, you have something to deal with inside. You still have to smoke a cigarette, you have something to deal with. He used to tell me, don't eat no meats, because if you eat the animal starts eating you from the inside. But I was in the point where I was like, well, I have this, and I want to get rid of it. So if you told me that's going to work, I'm going to do that. So I did it. At the same time, I met this herbalist, naturalist, and he was real strict too. He was just like, you either eat raw foods, or you're sick. And if you don't like that, then go to another herbalist that's going to give you the tea. I was like, what the heck? But at the same time, I was in a state of panic. So I was like, if what you say is going to help me, then I'm going to do it. So basically, I ran into so many teachers, so many energy teachers, so many meditation teachers. I was reading anything I could get my hands on. And after a while, I started meditating on my own a lot. And then after that, I started receiving messages. And I would hear people, oh, I could see angels, this and that. So I was like, oh, I see an angel. And the first time that I saw the lights of an angel, I remember I got home and I laid on my bed and I was facing up, and I sleep face down. So I was facing up with my eyes closed, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go to sleep now. So I'm gonna turn around. And when I opened my eyes, I just seen lights, blue lights from like the ceiling to the bottom, and it was like big. I got scared. So I covered my face. I covered my face and I stayed like this the whole night. But I kind of was like getting the message like, hey, you asked for it. Like, and it's that was my first experience. And then after a while, I would see it when I would be talking to people. I'd just see lights around me. Yeah, and sometimes I'd get the feeling of what they were feeling, and my intuition started increasing. And after a while, they started giving me energies to work with. I remember I was working on this lady once, and I don't know where I felt this presence, and I just seen Archangel Michael the way I see him in my mind's eye, and I just felt his presence there, and he gave me this energy, and like he transferred it to me, and then he transferred it to the person I was working with.
Wow.
And I opened my eyes to see if she was looking, and she was just sleeping. Like I was giving her energy work. And after he gave me that feeling, like use it on people. So what happened was, what I do every time that would happen, I would call like my psychic friends and be like, hey, tell me how this feels. And I'd run it, and they'd be like, what the heck was that? And I was like, I think I downloaded something.
Yeah.
So that's what I would do. Every time I download a certain energy, I'd check in with my psychic friends, and I'd do it on them, and then they'd tell me the difference. Oh, this energy feels like this energy feels more like aura clearing. So yeah.
Wow.
So that's how I started, and little by little, I just started doing my own thing. So when people ask me, what do? You do Reiki? I'm like, I started with Reiki, and I just swayed into my own thing. And I feel like everyone has that ability to sway into their own modality, I guess. Because everyone has their own style. Yeah, and some people even get mad at me because I teach, even when I teach Reiki, I teach it in my own way. And they're like, no, you got to follow the rules. And I'm just like, well, I'm following what I'm getting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the message they give me is like everything's vibrating high, so everything's happening faster, healing's getting simpler, everything's, and everything. The old rules don't apply that much anymore. And there's these kids that are coming they're already here, and they'll heal like this, and they don't have no certificate or nothing. It's all in their DNA.
Wow.
So yeah, that's how I got into this work. That's how I ran into holistic work, and I feel it's a great time because I feel it's like something people are looking for. The people are tired of what doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
And they're questioning everything right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it's a good time to be a practitioner.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Wow.
yeah, that's how I ran into all this, and it was an interesting journey.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was
Wow,
fun.
that's amazing.
It was like a roller coaster. There was
Yeah.
my lows and ups.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah.
And how do you work with people nowadays? Do you do one-on-one sessions? Do you do workshops? And if so, like how do you get all that, into?
I do both. I do one-on-one sessions with people where I work with them energetically, but at the same time, I do these certain techniques where they see the root of their problem. Because I was doing a lot of energy work on people, but I would say that for a month or two, they'd be perfect. Oh, I feel good. You got rid of this, and then they bring it back.
Mm.
So they gave me the message. They have to have a lesson in it. Because if they don't have a lesson in it, they're gonna bring it back.
So meaning if you're just, helping them heal things without them really processing what's behind and the root of the cause problem, then it's really not in a way healing. It's just masquerading something.
Yeah. So that's what what the message they were giving me. So I use these techniques where they see the root of their problem, and at the same time I work with them energetically and then get rid of the habit. So I mix a lot of what I've learned too. So yeah, so that's basically how I work one-on-one. And when I work in a group, I like working in groups, like when I do my seminars, because I connect people with their angels, where they do it. I just hold the space. But the stories that come out of those sessions, and I like working in front of a whole audience, because it's all these, I feel all the guides and angels that come through, and I'm just like, wow, I've never felt a guide like that before.
Oh, amazing. Yeah.
And it's, yeah, I remember once I was at the Conscious Life Expo, they invited me to speak for the Spanish market. And I was speaking there, and then some guy raised his hand. He was like, yeah, how do you call angels? Is there a special ritual? And I was like, no. And then some lady kind of got mad at me that was on the panel with me, and she's like, no, you're supposed to I forgot what she said. I was just like, sorry. And I was just told the guy, can you give me a minute so I can show him? And he's like, yeah, go ahead. And what I did was I just told him, I told everyone, just close your eyes, take a deep breath, and just say angels, with the intention for them to come and be with you. And they did, and when I opened my eyes, there was people just crying with teary eyes, and I was just like, wow.
Wow.
And then after, they didn't want to open their eyes.
Right.
And then after, everyone was like, wow, I felt the energy, the light. So yeah, I have fun working in groups.
It sounds like it.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. I'm telling you, interesting stories come out. People, the way people feel their angels. Some people say, wow, I just saw a big light right in front of me. And it's like, they did it, you know what I mean?
And how you live your life differently than those dark moments when you felt very close to the end in regards to like how much you could do to help yourself. How different has your life become since that, awakening into this other dimension of life?
Well, yeah, you're talking about like when I was going through like my suicidal thoughts,
or even before that, just living life on a day to day, trying to just do what most people are out there doing, going to work or school, and just getting through the day type of thing, rather than when you feel connected.
Yeah, well, I had a lot of realizations. One of them, the first one, I remember my first wisdom book that spiritual psychologist gave me was a book by Anthony DeMello. Have you heard of Anthony DeMello?
Yes, of course.
And he has a quote there, and it triggered something in me. He said, you are a mystic when you wake up one day and you ask, am I crazy or are they all crazy? And that's what, like, I was just like, am I really going crazy, or is it them that they're still stuck in something? You know what I mean? And right when I started reading his book, I was like, this is what I was looking for. And I feel like I started reading a lot. And I was seeing that routine is killing people. That was one of the first things I realized. Like, one, I know that people weren't connected spiritually, but the first thing I realized was routine is killing people. Routine in their jobs, routine in their relationships, you know, I remember reading a lot of Krishnamurti back then. And
Mm.
he even says like, yeah, routine is a killer. Like
Mm.
marriages are routine, so that's why they die out.
Mm-hmm.
And he was even talking about, ask anybody who makes a fixed income, and they'll tell you that they feel like they're dying, they're not growing. And I was
Mm.
like, wow. And that's what I realized. The first thing I realized, routine.
Mm.
And routine's killing people, and people are not following their passion too.
Mm.
And that's one thing that it took me a while to do too. But yeah, that's another thing that I realized, like, wow, we're here to do what we love to do. That's really what we're
Mm.
here for. And I even, since I was studying a lot, I even found out when the word hobby was invented. And it was in the
Uh,
industrialization times when the factory workers and all the 9 to 5s were invented. Back then they were 9 to 5s, they were 9 to 9s.
yeah.
And what happened was, hobby comes from the word hobby horse. It's a little toy from back then. So it was basically, save your hobby for after work. Come work at
Mm.
the factory, and then you could do
Mm-hmm.
your hobby.
Right.
But and I was finding out, like, wow, it's everything kind of shifted. But we're here to do what we love to do. That we're here to live from the heart. We're here to
Mm-hmm.
yeah, sing our song.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way Anthony DeMello says it.
Mm-hmm.
So but what's different now is I became vegetarian, vegan, mainly vegan. I go vegetarian once in a while. I became vegan. I stopped drinking. I never really smoked. And out of nowhere, once I started doing all that, I started meditating a lot every day. For a while, I was studying with the yogi every morning and every night. But I just started doing all this stuff, and I started becoming more, especially when I dropped alcohol and meat. I started becoming more psychic.
Mm.
And at first, I didn't know it. I would go to a club with my friends, and after a while, I'd feel all drained out, and I was just like, I gotta go. And it got to
Mm.
the point where I take my own car. Take
Mm.
my own car because I knew, like, I would want
Yeah.
to leave after a while.
Yeah.
And then they would be like, what the heck is wrong with this? It's
Yeah.
crazy. But I'd go and I feel drained out,
Yeah.
and I was just like, I gotta go.
Mm-hmm.
And I would leave. And I remember when I met one of my other energy teachers, she saw me at an expo, and she just looked at me and she's like, hey. And she looked at my friend and she's like, I don't mean to disrespect you, but you carry a lot of light. And but you're getting drained a lot. People are taking it from you. You don't know how to control it.
Mm.
She's like, you need to come see me. And at that time, real estate had gone down, and I didn't have no money to see her. I'm like, I don't have money to see you. She's like, don't worry about it. Just come see me. And that's how I met her. But that was around those times that I didn't know how to control my energy. So what that did, leaving the alcohol out and the meat out, it made me more
Mm.
intuitive, more sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't know how to control it until I met that teacher, and she showed me how to control everything, and other teachers too. But yeah, that was the difference. I started being more aware of energy,
Mm.
other people's energy, the energy of places, and I figured out that I was intuitive since I was a kid.
Mm.
I remember when I was a little kid, my mom took me to her friend's house.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember just holding her, crying, and pointing at a corner. But I don't remember seeing anything. But I just remember feeling the energy.
Mm-hmm.
And even my mom when I told her that, she's like, yeah, I remember you even in part of the backyard.
Mm.
You would point a part of the backyard, and like you were scared to
Mm-hmm.
go over there. And I was like, yeah, I remember that.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
So, when you grow up, you
Mm-hmm.
start forgetting or blocking or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But when that happened, it brought everything back. And plus doing all the yoga,
Mm-hmm.
it was bringing everything back. So
Yeah. Just
yeah,
kind of clearing the channels in a sense.
so I started being aware of being aware.
Mm.
That's or how does Michael Beckwith say? I started being conscious of being conscious. I
Mm.
started observing, like, wow, like, whose energy is this? Is this really mine? And most of the time, like, it wasn't, and I thought it was me feeling out of it, and I learned how to block whoever energy that was, and it was just my body telling me that's what they're feeling. But it's like it gets to a point where you gotta let your body know, like, okay, I got it.
Yeah. And then
And
to learn to release
learn to
things that
release.
are not, yeah,
Yeah,
serving.
so that's how that's the different thing. So now I don't drink, I don't eat meats. Um, a lot of times I'm to myself, and a lot of people even criticize me for that. They're like, why are you to yourself too much? but a lot of times it's like I like being to myself. I like doing my ideas, setting my goals, observing my energy, see what I got to do. And but that's another thing that I feel people are scared of, being alone. They're scared of being alone, and I'm not telling people to be alone. I'm just saying there's got to be a time where you observe yourself. You're used to adjusting to everyone. So that's what I tell people. Like, at least spend some time. When I had anxiety, I spent like a year just being alone, and it was intense. But I was studying. I was like, I gotta get rid of this. Yeah. So that's how it changed and shifted. But yeah, that's I feel like I'm healthier more now than when I was like a teenager.
Yeah.
More energetic. Yeah.
And do you feel your ability to help others in a sense, or even, I don't know if help is the right word, but just create that channel of awareness for other people in your life is your song, in a sense of what feels right for you to be doing at this point in your life? Is that, how does it feel for you? How do you, how does it encompass that, living your passion through this type of work?
Yeah, well, I feel like when somebody follows their passion, they automatically start inspiring people. And I even feel like when somebody's following their passion, they do it no matter what, but I feel like their aura lights up more. And that's when even people will start asking, like, what are they doing different? And you see it in all the famous people. Like, some of them have crazy lives, but some of them are following their passion, and that's why they have that presence when they walk in the room. Why? Because they're doing what they love, and they're doing well off doing what they love. And yeah, so I feel like me doing what I love is like it's already inspiring people. Just doing that, and it's the work is good, but I feel like just anyone could follow their own passion. I always give the example of because I didn't even know about this story about Pelé. Pelé, all he did was follow a soccer ball. And I found out that in Africa, they found out that he was going to go over there in the 60s, and there was a war, and they stopped. They're like, you know what, Pelé's coming.
Wow.
Let's stop. I don't even think a pope has done that. And what did Pelé do? All he did was follow a soccer ball.
Wow.
And somebody could have told him, hey, put that soccer ball away and whatever. But
and get a job like everybody else.
But he followed his soccer ball, and he's like one of the few humans who has actually stopped the war.
Wow.
And yeah, you could Google that. It's I think it was in 1967. I forgot what African country or state. I forgot. But it was an interesting story. I'm like, all he did was follow his passion, and just because he's following his passion, he stopped the war. Yeah, so,
wow.
So yeah, to me, if you follow your passion, you're automatically gonna inspire people.
Yeah.
And I feel like yeah, people feel it when I'm up there speaking and giving a class, and they're just like, man, you're so energetic, and I'm just like, I'm following my passion.
Yeah, the energy just comes from this momentum of really loving.
Whereas when I was working at where I didn't like, it was just thinking about it, like, oh man, I gotta go to work.
Yeah.
Oh man, I gotta do this.
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't want to do that no more.
And
and then you start complaining, and the people at work say, I mean, it wasn't for me. I'm not saying it's wrong, but it wasn't for me.
Did you do real estate before?
Yeah, I did real estate. Around the time I had gotten those panic attacks, I was working at a warehouse job, and I was already working towards real estate. And then I got into real estate, and I got to enjoy some of it until the economy went down. So I started getting sales jobs, but at the same time, I had already started doing a lot of the holistic work, and that kept pulling me. Like, hey, you got to be over here, and I go get a job, and it was just like, no, I can't do it. Until I started doing it part time, and then I started doing it full time in 2008, and
very cool. And now you have a website too that people can, students or people that are interested in the healing work that you do, can go to and have sort of like a little backup when they're home. If they're not participating in the workshops, they can turn to that as a form of reconnecting with the energy, with the transmission. How does that work? Can you talk a little bit about that?
In my website, I'll say the name of it right now. There's a lot of I have a lot of free energy healings, different kinds of energy healing stuff that I've downloaded. Most of those videos I did were done right after I downloaded something. I was like, I'm gonna put this on YouTube,
Right.
and I'd load it up on YouTube, and yeah, it's so I have like hours I think of free. I even have like some conference calls that I did. There's this good conference call on there. It's I forgot what it's called. Anchoring Your Light. And it's like a full hour, and it was a conference call, a paid conference call. People would order it, and they'd go on the call. But I brought it out, and the reason I brought it out was because I feel like there was a lot of healers that were going through a lot of stuff around the time I brought it out for free on YouTube. And this is one of the things I wanted to talk about, because I feel like there's a lot of healers. They're real opened up with the upper chakras, real intuitive, but at the same time, they never get things done. And they're real and grounded. Why? Because their lower chakras aren't flowing that good. And sometimes people think, oh, we lived in the lower chakras, so we gotta ignore them and go to the upper chakras. And I'm like, no, you gotta have and one of my teachers told me, he said, like, you gotta have a strong foundation. It's like a building. If the foundation isn't strong, then everything's gonna fall. And yeah, and that's why I feel there's like, because I have a friend, and he's a Brasileiro.
Oh, yeah.
He's one of my mentors for business, and he's like, hey man, how come all the holistic people, all those light workers, they're always, every time I go interview some of them, they're always broke. And I had that question too, and I was just like, and I think it's because of that. The way I explain it is, we have every human has a female and male energies. And male's more intellect, male's more power, and then we have the female creativity, imagination, spirituality. But I feel like both have to be balanced. And even Jesus says it in the Bible, when the two become one, then you will know.
Yes.
And I feel like a lot of people stay in the dreaming state, and they never get that male power. And all right, let's do it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna take action. Boom, boom, boom. So in that video I talk about that, and there's even like techniques on how to make your lower centers flow, techniques that you could do every day, and it's like a whole hour of just working on that, connecting back to the earth. And that's why I call it anchoring your light. You bring that light in and you anchor it instead of just having it up here, because a lot of the times then we get frustrated, like, man, I meditated, I did all this, and nothing happened. Well, you gotta take action.
Right.
Yeah, so it's that's one of the cool videos that I have on there. But I have hours of free energy healings. I was doing conference calls interviewing other healers, and there's a page where I have hours of that interviewing other healers, and they give a free giveaway, I guess, of their energy work. I have another page where I have channeled messages, where I'm channeling messages, and yeah, from different. I always do it from three guides, and they give different answers, so it's real interesting. So the website is www.cosmic-interdimensional-healing.com. Cosmic-interdimensional-healing.com.
And I'll put that on the
bottom
of the website there.
Yeah, and that's kind of long.
Yeah.
And I have another website for my anxiety clients, because I also have like a special market for people who have anxiety and panic attacks, since I healed myself from that. That's what I help. And that one's anxietyanswer.org.
Nice.
Anxietyanswer.org.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And what's your own? Give me a little idea of what your day flows like on a, talking about routine and things like that. Do you give yourself time to really anchor those practices? Do you, try to balance it out with what you do with your clients, and also keep up your own sort of work within yourself, and keep those energies kind of, channeled?
I always use the morning for myself. I'm doing this thing, and I heard it from Tony Robbins, called the Hour of Power, where you wake up and you walk, and with a certain breath technique that they use from yoga, you start saying an affirmation, and you can pick whatever affirmation you want. And so I walk my dog, and I'm doing, and he tells you to tap your fingers. So I'm walking and I'm doing that, and I'm doing my affirmation in my head. And the breath, it's real simple. It's like 4 times in and 4 times out. So it's And in my head, I'm saying I love myself, I love my life. Or the other one that I use is I am a success, I am fulfilled. Oh, you gotta get the fingering right.
Yeah, you gotta get the coordination right. Like what?
But you could pick any affirmation, and he calls it the hour of power. It's like so you have to spend an hour, wake up earlier than you usually do, just to do your techniques for yourself, because that's
give that. Yeah.
because that's gonna set the vibration for your day. And so I do that for like I walk for like 15-20 minutes with my dog. Then after that, I do the sometimes I do the light body meditation, and but most of the time I do the awe meditation by Wayne Dyer. I don't know if you heard of the awe meditation. It was given to him by Dattatreya Shiva Baba, is this yogi guy that I follow a lot. And I do his meditation, the awe meditation, which is for manifesting, and it's basically setting my vibration for the day. And then after that, I just get ready for my day. Get ready, and whether it's making calls, whether it's seeing clients, whether it's sometimes I even since I'm used to real estate around the offices that I work at, I go walk the streets and tell people what I do with my flyers. And some people are like, "Man, you do that for your business?" And I'm like, I like meeting new people.
Yeah.
I used to do it for real estate. Yeah.
And then you have your workshops. Do you have a set date for workshops, or it's just kind of flow?
Yeah, it's I have a transformation workshop once a month. One in English and one in Spanish. My Spanish market is starting to grow, so I'm doing a lot of Spanish now. And I also have a lot of intro classes where I show people what I do. I also have meditation hikes. I have one this Saturday.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I take people to mainly Malibu. And we hike different places in Malibu, and we do the light body meditation. We do different things every time we do it. It's different. Like for example, this weekend I have a guest, Greg, my friend Greg, and he also does light body work, and we're both gonna do a light body little seminar under a beautiful tree in Malibu.
Nice.
And then we're gonna go walk to this labyrinth. And the next one I'm gonna have is gonna be on breath work. I have a guest too, my friend Ariana from Ventura, and she specializes in breath work. So we're gonna go deep into the power of the breath. Yeah. So I have different things, and I also have webinars too. So I have webinars. The last webinar I had was on DNA and DNA activation. That's some of the stuff that I do.
Can you talk a little bit? That's really interesting to me. I saw a little bit. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that is?
Well, DNA, everything is in our DNA. I don't know if you guys have seen the double helix spiral. It's shaped like a ladder. So there's a reason why the ancients used to draw the ladder to heaven, the stairway to heaven, and everything is in our DNA. All our information is in our DNA, from past, present, and the future, whatever. It's kind of like a computer, in a way, like a brain, and whatever we're thinking of, we start pulling on those files. But sometimes we're not using our thinking abilities. We're being told what to do by radio, television, family, friends, religion, government, whatever it is. So it's kind of like on auto drive. And I tell people, when you start concentrating on what you really want, when you start talking to yourselves, because one of the channels told me, you got to start talking to yourselves and pulling on the files that you want. So if you want more confidence, just ask, feel yourselves, feel them vibrate, and just ask, hey, I want more confidence in my life. And your DNA is going to know from which past lives to pull on. It's going to pull on your warrior self from your past life. It's going to maybe do more than one life. And it's going to start pulling on it. And the more you do it, the more it's going to do it. So a lot of people ask me, so what's a DNA activation? A DNA activation is it's nothing new. It's in yoga they were known as Shaktipats. In the Buddhism, the initiations were a form of DNA activation. And what it does is it's kind of like it's not that it activates anything new. It's that you start pulling on your divinity from your DNA, and you stop vibrating with what's no longer serving you, with the old templates. A lot of times we're working with old templates. And we need to start vibrating with the new, because the planet's vibration keeps rising, but we're not adapting to it because we're still working with those old templates. So that's what a DNA activation does. You carry more light in your DNA, you carry more light in your body. And a lot of people ask me, well, what's the difference with a teacher doing it? Can you do it to yourself? I'm like, yeah, you could do it to yourself. But one thing that one of the guys that's doing DNA activations told me, Alexander, he says, yeah, a lot of the times, a lot of these healers, since we have a more expanded DNA, we've been doing work for a long time, it's easy for us to, you can pick up off of it. And he's like, you see it all the time when people say they met the Dalai Lama, they get close to him and they feel emotional. Some people even feel like they're going to faint. Why? Because in their DNA, they're vibrating with these high templates that they start changing yours.
Wow, how
so
amazing.
So that's what a healer does, and they say that's what Jesus was doing. He was just pulling on their DNA, messing with their DNA, just pulling the divinity out of them. Like, hey, get this.
Yeah. You're not really sick.
Yeah, I don't see no sickness. This is what I see.
Yeah, I see perfection and.
Yeah, and it's real interesting, but it's I feel like every tradition had DNA activations. They even say Solomon from the Bible used to have his schools where he used to do DNA activations.
Wow.
Akhenaten used to teach DNA activations, and even the 44 gods of Egypt. Archaeologists thought like, wow, these Egyptians have a lot of gods, but they represent the 42 and 2 chromosomes of our DNA. So the Egyptians knew that every time we learned a life lesson, there was a shift in our DNA.
Wow.
More light, more expansion. So they knew, but it was forgotten. So after a while, they started really worshiping the statues. But this was back like when Egypt was new, like in 13,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago. So, but to me, that's like real important. I like teaching about DNA because that's everything. And I also explain everything scientifically. There's even doctors that are like, wow, there's outside environments that affect DNA. And it's really changing people. They did a study with 2 twins. It's called epigenetics.
Yes, I've read a book recently about it. It's
Yeah.
so amazingly interesting.
There's 2 twins. They're like, wow, these twins are supposed to grow up the same. But they took one and put them in another environment. And this guy grew up according to what his DNA said. But the other guy grew up in another environment and it was different. So they're like, wow, so external, outside environments can affect DNA. But it's not that it's outside environments. It's really what they're thinking and feeling. But since a lot of time they're not thinking, people think according to circumstances, outside circumstances.
Programming.
That's what's happening. They're picking up everything from their environment and it's changing their DNA according to that. And even in the simple way of business, there's like business coaches. Bob Proctor says like if you put a loser in the group of winners, I guarantee you he'll become a winner.
Wow.
And he's like, and there's a science behind it. And he even says there's genetic conditioning. We don't only come with the looks of our parents, we come with more stuff. But you could change it.
Wow.
So yeah, the DNA information is real interesting. If you want, I could maybe you could put a link in the bottom where they could get access to that.
Yeah, for sure.
That webinar
sounds amazingly interesting. I'm definitely putting that on there.
It's a free webinar. It's like an hour where I'm just explaining the details of DNA.
Awesome.
And in my website, you could get more information about DNA activations and connecting with angels.
Yeah, we'll put it all there. We'll find a space.
Yeah.
And do you do any work with past lives, or do you do anything in regards to clearing any of that?
I do, but a lot of the times I don't tell much to the client. And the thing is, this is a question I had once. I'm like, how can I tell them about past lives if they can't see their past lives?
Right.
And this is the message they gave me. They're like, you don't have to go to past lives. That's why we have you do these other mental techniques where they see the root of their problem. Because a lot of the times, what they told me was a lot of the issues, not all of them, but they said most issues show up by the time you're 8 years old.
Wow.
So between the age of when you were born and 8, a lot of the past life issues you already went through. So they're like, that's why you have those parents, that's why you have those brothers and sisters and friends and family members. So they're all there. all your past life issues from 0 to 8, they're there,
Mm-hmm.
and most of them, those are your lessons in life.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a few that aren't, and but
Mm-hmm.
most of them are there.
Mm-hmm.
They're all there for you to learn. So that's why you went through what you went through.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's real interesting.
And
But
then, so just using the present as your way to really heal, not necessarily going back in the past so much, but actually just being present with the whatever lessons happening at that moment, and then take it for that. Is that usually how you tend to work?
yeah,
People?
what I do, I take them to a process where, with the help of the angels, they ask their subconscious, go to the root of the problem,
Mm-hmm.
and boom, it flashes in their mind
Mm.
most of the time. And sometimes we do it 2 or 3 times, and then I ask them, well, we could try it right now. You want to try it?
Yeah, let's try
Okay.
it.
And you guys could try it too. But
Try it together.
so just follow along. So just follow along.
Okay.
I'm gonna have you close your eyes and then just relax you, and then we'll go into that technique, and it'll be like a short version of it, but it'll still be intense. So we're gonna feel the angels first,
Okay.
and then we're gonna ask them for help, and then we're gonna go. We're gonna ask our subconscious with the help of the angels, go to the root of the problem,
Mm-hmm.
and then we're gonna do that question twice. Go to the
Okay.
root of the problem. You might stay with that answer. They might show you something deeper, and then we're gonna ask, what is my lesson in this? Got it?
Got it.
Okay. So close your eyes, everyone, and take a deep breath. Let it out slowly. Relax your shoulders. Relax your throat. Relax your tongue and jaw. Relax your eyes. Let them rest in their eye sockets. And take another deep breath. Let it out slowly. And what I want you to do is mentally call on your guides and angels. So just say, guides and angels, please be present during this session. You could do it mentally. And just feel the energy, just let go. Some of you might start feeling energy in your shoulders, maybe in your neck, maybe on your head. Some people feel like they're playing with their hair. Maybe in your hands. It's different for everyone. And just feel the angels, and what I want you to do is breathe into your heart. Breathe out. And just feel your heart. And this is another technique you guys could go to sleep doing. Just practice feeling your heart. Breathe into it and breathe out. So we're going to ask the angels to help out, to show us the root of the problem we're thinking of. So think of a situation or a problem that you want to work on. And once you brought this situation up to your mind, when I tell you to breathe in, you're going to breathe in and mentally ask, what is the root of this problem? So take a deep breath and ask. And breathe out. And we're going to ask one more time. And if you already got an answer, you can ask, what is the root of this? So take a deep breath and ask and let go. And now what you're going to do is you're going to mentally ask, what is my lesson in this? Take a deep breath and ask. And breathe out. And it's the first thing that came to your mind. And now what I'm going to do is you're going to observe this situation like if you're seeing it in a TV screen or in a movie screen. And you're going to see it fill up with light. And I'm going to do an energy transmission just to give this situation healing. So I'm going to use a tool that I use called the Cosmic Healing Profile. So when I say transmission begins, just mentally be open to receive. So there's a transmission to give the situation healing and more light. Take a deep breath. The transmission begins. Transmission ends. Now we're going to align this situation to the heart of the Creator and to your higher self. So it's going to be aligned to your heart energy. Take a deep breath. And transmission begins. Transmission ends. And take a deep breath. And when you're ready, you could open your eyes.
Wow. That was good.
Did you get an answer?
Totally. It was like you said, the first thing that popped into the head.
They like
you know?
flash it in your
Boom.
face. Like,
Wow. Yeah. And
yeah.
and there's a feeling around it, like
yeah.
it's like a warmth, and there's this feeling of ease.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It's nice. Thank you.
Feel. I hope all of you
Thank
guys felt,
That
and
was
yeah.
awesome. Thank you.
And it's how'd you feel the energy transmissions?
Really well too,
Yeah.
and yeah, just like I said, it feels warm, and there's like a sense of like everything's okay, and
Yeah. Cool.
yeah.
And did you get an answer for what is my lesson in this?
Yeah, that was pretty clear.
Yeah.
For me, is learn to love yourself,
Yeah.
or nurture that love for self.
Yeah.
Continue to nurture that love for self, which I think could be the root of a lot of patterns, karmic patterns, subconscious patterns of things we do.
So a lot of the times, yeah, like I said, sometimes we have to spend time alone, but people don't like to do that. So they go into relationships just because they don't want to be alone. But, yeah. So that's like a lot of the self-love stuff.
Yeah.
So it's yeah. So you liked it?
Nice, thank
Cool.
you. That was awesome. Thanks.
So that was a
I hope you guys enjoyed it too.
little glimpse.
Very nice. Thank you.
But yeah, it's interesting, and that's what I like. I like people to see it themselves. And it's yeah, and sometimes they thought it was one thing, and it's like a completely different thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And to be able to do that, like you said, before you go to bed, or when something is actually up, up for and showing up in your life at that moment, to be able to call on that energy and to really find out what's causing it and really clear it, on a timely manner, rather than letting it sit and blah.
Yeah, a lot of times we let it get to us, and then we get down or angry, and then we watch TV shows that are like that, or listen to music that are like that, and we feel
the energy just keeps going down and down, rather than like finding a way to get out of that field of transmission of frequency and rising above it somehow. So it's a really
step out of it and work on it.
Nice. Thank
Yeah,
you.
so you could get more information on those tools that I use too.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's real interesting.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. I don't know, is there anything else that we kind of didn't cover that you wanted to talk about? Or
I don't know. Any more questions?
I think I pretty much asked everything that I wanted to ask. There's always, I'm going to put the link down there, and, if people have questions and things, we can always do this again. And, it'd be fun, too, to have people, throw out different things, and maybe we can...
maybe you guys could ask questions or anything, and we'll make another video.
Exactly. It'd be fun. It's always good to have interactive, videos like that.
It's cool. Or we could do a Google Hangout.
Oh, too.
Yeah, that'll be live.
Very cool. Yeah, but thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing your experience with me and everybody else who's watching.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and so the link will be there, and if people want to get in contact or find out more information, we can do that as well. And have other opportunities to chat and
Cool.
and just sink in with the energy. I really think that that's all about what it's about, you know, to
Yeah.
really connect and be able to really remember. I think a lot of times it's about, you know, remembering.
Yeah.
And we all know that there's something that we're connected
Yeah.
to deep down, and yet we got caught up, like you said, in the routine and the day to day, and you know, lists of to dos,
Yeah.
and forgetting what that's based off of. You know,
Mhm.
that real connection to heaven and earth,
Yeah.
and just really being present with life.
Yeah. So let's be
So
present.
yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much
Well,
for
cool. Thank you
watching.
guys for watching.
Kisses to everybody. And thank
And
you again for
yeah,
being here.
thank you and thank everyone.
Okay.